Right guys, I had to just pop to the shop. I've been at this now for over 12 hours, so I'll do your review after this video, but this is the final one. Let's go through it. I had to go all the way in the rain, in the car, get my dogs some food, me some food, and all that, and a drink, so, because it's bloody thirsty work. So let's go, let's do it. Number 6, The Rise of Tokugawa Yasu. Actually, it's called Birth of a Dynasty, or Dynasty, whichever way you want to pronounce it. Right guys, just check my mics in. This episode, it's just at the minute, it's just the political things, and as I say, I don't have much to say about that, so I'm already at like about 10 or 15 minutes through, and it's just Tokugawa Yasu, you know, building up. Now there's a bit here, Motsutaro, where he's at the guy who's going to defend Fushimi Castle, and they shake hands like Westerners. I'm not sure about that. And then give a cuddle. I'm alright with men, warriors showing emotion, because actually samurai showed loads of emotion. A lot of the times they cry into their sleeves. So we find, and it's in a book coming up by me next year, so 2022, we find lots of crying by the samurai and emotional outbursts. You know, this idea that they're stoic and all that. They're forever either screaming at each other or crying. But shaking hands like Westerners, not sure. Enjoy it, boy, enjoy it. Now, they've just done the Fushimi Castle, and it's quite a famous thing. And I hope I'm not mixing up my history here, but if I remember correctly, Fushimi Castle actually falls because some of the Kokemono, the people from Koka, who are famous for ninjutsu and deception, are actually bribed at this point, or not bribed, that's the wrong word, but their wives are threatened, and part of the castle is opened up so that they can get in. And if I remember rightly, this is the one where the floorboards are now in a temple because there's handprints of blood all over it. So I think this sort of maybe it was just a bit. I know they've got a bit of time, but the amount of time they spent on that, and we see the same set actually. They've got about 4 separate sets and outside, and that's about it. And we see the same set now as being the castle, the storeroom, the tower. It's the same set every time. That stone-walled, like, Western castle set just keeps propping up now, again and again. But the Fushimi Castle, I don't know. There was a betrayal there from the inside, so they make it sound like the people were like fighting to the end. Actually, it was the people on the inside who allowed the people on the outside to break through and get in. Double check my history on that one, but as far as I remember, that's the crack. Now, actually, I'm going to say, I don't know how much of this was ever actually filmed in Japan. I'm going to say that most of these sets are in England, or I think, no, they're Canada. They're Canada. So their people are from Canada. So I'm going to say they're actually filming in Canada with Japanese actors. As a guess. I've not checked the credits. And I'm also going to say that they filmed a lot of these outdoor scenes in Canada, because they just said, this is Sekigahara Valley. That's not Japan. I don't think so. It looks like New Zealand, Canada, or Wales, where I live. I'm not Welsh, but I live in Wales, and it definitely doesn't look. So I think overall, when they talk about this Game of Thrones, I know Shogun was saying he was expecting this. It says the Game of Thrones of Japanese, and you're like, except filmed in Canada, sort of like in the Canadian mountains with some Japanese Canadian actors. I don't know, you know, but that's what it seems. Which again, it doesn't matter. The budget is the budget. You've got what you do, and they've done the best they can with the budget. But it was a little bit hyped up, so now you're like a little bit. It was a bit overhyped, wasn't it? This is a bit of a random thing. They've done quite a good thing here with the what's it called? The effects, but it's like maybe puppets or puppet effects. But watch the spears or the pole arms at the bottom of the screen. Look, they're Chinese, but I think they're made of cardboard. And they just proved, I thought that's quite cool, or at least they just, you know, not quite Japanese. Now we're finally getting some good images, if you like. We're starting to get like CGI armies on the open plains, which gives it a bit more scope instead of like 4 or 5 actors in front of a set. So we're now starting to see some scope. Talk about armies. Here's Sekigahara, and they're about to sort of like attack, and they're all waiting, and he goes, attack! Who's your daddy? And then they all start moving forward. I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but let's just watch the sort of battle. I have to be careful. I've had to turn the sound off because I keep getting I'm getting copyright strikes. So we'll just watch this, and then I'll go back over it. Oh, the action finished. Now, if this is the first one you've seen, you've accidentally come at number 6, then basically I was meant to be one of the advisors on this documentary, but they sort of like, we had the meeting, and then I was meant to be doing it, and then it just never come. I emailed them and never got an answer off them, so that was weird. But this is episode number 3, And this is where I'd come in. They've literally just got 2 lines of people and made them fight to each other. This is not how it works. So there are debates on whether the Ashigaru move forward after Tokugawa has done Sekigahara or not. I'm not quite sure, to be honest. I'll go with you. But there's definitely a lot more to it than this. The drums are going, the signals are going, people are forming up in different formations. There are it's what's called Yariba, the field of spears. Spears are set, people are manoeuvring archers. This is the height of your phalanx war, so this idea that everybody just runs like that is not true. This sort of like the drums will be beating, there's war cries going, so it's like they come in and they peel off again, they're going in. This is the sort of way war goes. Everybody's sort of going, what should we do? It's not just like, yay, you know, oh, what is it? He bravely runs away, brave Sir Robin of Camelot. So basically, there's a lot more to it. I would have done the research for Sekigahara on what actually happened on the front lines, but you've got which formations are formed, which drum signals are given, are the archers used with the teppo, the guns, and in which sort of rhythm are they used. I'd have gone through all of that to check it, to make sure we got something a bit more than attack. You know what I mean? That sort of like Errol Flynn sort of style. So that's where it's missing the real details. So I think so far, again, I'll tell you in the review.
Now this is excellent. She's got blackened teeth. Actually, lots of the male samurai would have blackened teeth. Now I've looked into this and it's not 100% sure how many of them there would have been. Now teeth are blackened after death. They're blackened on women who are married, but also there are blackened on men as well, but it's difficult to say what percentage of the samurai had blackened teeth. These teeth are actually stained with iron. It's like an iron compound, and it helps strengthen the teeth from decay. So, and many of the Western people who arrived in Japan in the 1500s talk about how black these teeth are. It doesn't mean they're rotten or broken, it means they're dyed specifically that, and you have to continue to dye them to get them that colour. So the fact that she's got blackened teeth is a very nice tick in the plus box on this one. However, I think her eyebrows are in the wrong position. They always changed the eyebrows back in the day, or they had these weird eyebrows, which I can't stand. But what is it? They had this weird eyebrow thing that they've not put in this program, and thankfully, because they're a bit strange, but it's a bit not historical.
Now we're at the case where we're at the point where they're attacking Osaka. It's the siege of Osaka Castle, and one thing that they totally never sort of, excuse me, let me untilt that. One thing that they never tend to really deal with is the eyewitness account. Now we published the eyewitness account in this Samurai War Stories, and there's a woman who was in that siege, and she had to paint the teeth black. We just talked about the blackened teeth. So any of the warriors that hadn't got blackened teeth who died and their heads were brought in, they painted them black and combed their hair. So imagine they're on the castle walls, they're shooting down, they're dying, they're falling back into their own castle. The heads can be taken and put upstairs on thingies, and all this is done. Because you can actually, in samurai culture, decapitate your own people. So when they're dead, you take their heads, because they can't be lugging bodies around. So you take their heads and pay homage to the head, because that's sort of the seat. Now, which is weird, because everybody talks about seppuku being like the heart is in the belly and everything, but actually it's the head they want. So it's a bit of a contradiction. I don't know how to solve that one. I'll have to work it out. Everybody says the soul is in the belly in Japanese, that's why seppuku is there, and I'm like, but they always take the head, and they always love the head and only want the head, and it's a head culture, so why do they not take the stomachs? So that's something for us to question. But there is, if you want an eyewitness account of Osaka Castle, there's one at the end of this. It's not massively long, but it's a woman who's there. The gunshots are going through, and this thunder is, like she said, it's thundering, and they escape actually out of it. So it's a good read. So Tokugawa Yasu is on his deathbed, and Date Masamune is there, and he hands him a sword. Now, if this is the story I think they're talking about, he actually says, go and murder someone, go and test the sword, and he has to go out and kill someone, and then come back and go, yeah, it's a good sword. I must admit, guys, I'm doing that from memory, so just let me check. But I'm sure he's like, on his deathbed, he's like, no, check it, it's a bloody good sword. Like in this, he's like, thank you, and he relies back down. But I think he was like, goes out, kills someone, or just kills a criminal, and he's like, it's a pretty good cut, that. It's like, oh, all right then. I think, because you're not dying that day. You die over weeks, don't you, when you've got cancer? So you're going to be dying over weeks, and. So Date Masamune's going out just murdering some random criminal, some random guy on the street. He's like, Date Masamune, die. So I don't know the truth of that story, but it's interesting. And something that they don't point out here, and not totally bad for them, but because they have been quite good with the brutality, is that Tokugawa Yasu, which is one of my main gripes on the Bushido sort of thing, is Tokugawa Yasu swears a deathbed promise to... Toyotomi Hideyoshi that he will protect Toyotomi Hideyori with his life, and one of the 5 counselors of doom, like Enter Lord of the Rings style, and actually murders him. It's like, I'll look after you, lad. In about 10 years, I'm going to cut your head off. Ooh, and take all your power. Now, what is quite interesting is there is a gap between the points where he does promise and when he takes his head off. And it is, maybe he's genuinely trying to keep him alive. And it is obvious that he's probably going to have to kill him. But that doesn't change the fact at all that he does that. And he should not even be trying to keep the... Everybody's like, oh yeah, his power was being... attacked because Hideyori was sort of like building his power up. Yeah, he's the rightful ruler of Japan, he's allowed to. Oh yeah, he's just at this point, Tokugawa, even though he's won Sekigahara, he's still in the shogun, he's still technically the protector of Hideyori, and Hideyori's still coming of age. He's about 18, I think, at this point. If he's born in the late 1590s and it's the Osaka is 16, 15, 16, 14, 15, or 16, 15, 16, then basically he's gone against his word and he shouldn't be doing it, but he does it and he murders him after a deathbed promise, and then on his own deathbed he's like, go and test this sword on someone, I'll chop them up, you know what I mean? So you just remember how brutal these guys were. Now it's Tokugawa Ieyasu's funeral, and they're all putting their swords, taking their swords out and putting them on his funeral pyre. Now I'm not sure about that. Basically, as far as I'm aware, which I've spoke about in an earlier review here, in this series, you can commit suicide and follow your lord to the afterlife. Wait on, mate, I'm coming with you. You know what I mean? Or you can chop a finger off. Everybody thinks that seeing fingerless people are Yakuza. Starts with the samurai. They say, I won't follow you into death, but my finger will come with you. A part of me goes with you. And they put it literally on the funeral pyre. And monks who want to follow the Lord after death are not allowed to shed blood, so they hang themselves from the local tree while the funeral's going on. But I've never heard of them laying their katana on a funeral pyre, setting it on fire. Anyone else? It's new to me, that one. Okay guys, right, let me just get rid of that before it starts playing in the background. Basically we're at the end of it all. Now one of the historians there says after 150 years of war, not mainly war, you know what I mean, but the last 150 years of war, the samurai change into something else, and they basically become bureaucrats. And he says within a couple of decades, or a few decades, they're unrecognizable as the bloodthirsty people they were, their grandfathers, and their grandsons are basically not. And that's exactly, I like that, because that's exactly what Natori Masazumi says. Now this is obviously a plug, but it genuinely rings true. Natori Masazumi wrote these, and he was Tokugawa Yorinobu. So Tokugawa Ieyasu had a son called Yorinobu. Yorinobu took over Kishu domain, in Wakayama, and he had a retinue of people around him. One of those people was a strategist called Natori Sanjuro Masazumi, and I have been going around Japan collecting all of his written works. This is the Book of Samurai series published by Watkins. This is only up to 2 volumes. There'll be about 8 volumes in the set like that when it's finished. It's going to take me years to do, but as you can see, it's there. There's tons and tons of samurai information in it, and that's exactly what Natori Sanjuro Masazumi says. He says they've just changed, samurai have changed, the wars have ended. So he was after the wars, but he wrote everything he could about the wars and about what they need to do and how you do it in these documents, which more and more will come as time goes along. So please get yourself a copy of that. But one I do want to disagree with is the way it leaves it. They always try and leave you on an upper note. Remember that that's entertainment, so it's got to leave you on an upstanding note for you to think, oh, I enjoyed that. So it says, 150 years of war brought about 250 years of peace. Nobody else has achieved that. Yes, they have, the North Koreans. So basically, 250 years of peace under the Tokugawa was like being in North Korea. You wear your hair like this, your house will look like this, you won't be doing that, you're allowed this material, you can't do this, you're taxed this much. You literally, probably not as bad as North Korea, but it ain't far off, because you're in a caste system that you can't move from, you're heavily taxed, the merchant class are rising, and yes, there is, a lot more freedom in the sense that there's brothels and everything, but there's a spy system in place, there's a snitch on your neighbour, there's a gate system in place on every street so that you can't go anywhere at night, your marriages are licensed and arranged. It's a very, very sort of dictator society. It's a dictatorship society. So this idea that we left them in and there was wonderful peace and the lion slept next to the lamb, no. So if it would have been me being the director, I'd have said, and we're left with the legacy of the samurai, a hardened heart who, has experienced war, but have been in touch with everything we are as humans to move forward and all that. And that sort of bump I wouldn't have gone with. And they created a dictatorship piece, That's how they did it. Right, that's the end of number 6. I'm going to do your review video, so a little bit of an overview. So if you've got this far in the series, you may as well finish off and see the next one.